This week's episode is brought to you by Hassle, the simple project management tool that has everything you need to run your business. It also has a built-in wellness tool, so you can streamline work, communicate with your team, and be reminded to take breaks. New users can get the first 3 months free, but you can use code HASSLEGEORDIE for an extra 3 months. That's 6 months of free use on this incredible platform that will change the way you run your business for the better. For more information and to sign up, head to hassl.co. That's hassle.co. Welcome back to It's All Her, the podcast. I'm your host, Geordie Lucas. I'm the founder and editor of It's All Her. I was an actress in a previous life and I'm a mum to a toddler. I've got a lot going on and I have a passion for helping women live simpler, better lives. For the latest in lifestyle and entertainment news, head to itsallher.com. Welcome. How are you? It is Monday. If you're listening to this podcast the day it comes out, if you're listening later in the week, why? No, I'm kidding. That's fine. I hope you're having a great week. I am exhausted today because I watched the Adele concert / Oprah sit-down interview last night, and then I couldn't stop Googling and reading about her and her past relationships. Does anyone else do that? You'll watch a TV show or a movie and then just go down like an internet rabbit hole on the actor or the star of it. I caught myself at 11:30 last night looking at photos of her ex-husband and I was like, what are you doing? Put your phone down and go to sleep. I'm just fascinated by Adele. I think it's because she is so private, and I think that creates more intrigue around her. Anyway, if you have missed it, definitely watch it. I'm sure Channel 7 have it on their site to stream. Now to this week's guest. When Olivia Molly Rogers was crowned Miss Universe Australia in 2017, you'd be forgiven for thinking that her life was a bed of roses. However, behind the glitz and the glamour of her newly crowned title, Olivia was just 6 months into recovery for eating disorders, anxiety, and depression. Olivia and I chat about how Miss Universe actually helped her confidence, how she's now helping other women and girls with her new book, and her exciting plans for 2022 and beyond. Here's my chat with Olivia Molly Rogers. Thank you for joining us on the podcast this week. I'm so excited to have you on and hear all about your life and what's coming up for you. How are you going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. It's very nice to see your face. I wish we could meet in person, but this will have to do.
I know. We're almost there. We're both in Melbourne, so we're almost back to normality. Now, obviously, I want to hear all about Miss Universe and all the exciting things that you're working on at the moment, but let's take it back to sort of life pre-Miss Universe, growing up. I read that you grew up quite a shy and sort of introverted child.
Yeah, I definitely was. I grew up in Adelaide. I am one of 5 kids now, but originally one of 3. Dad remarried and had two more, so there's a big age gap there. But yeah, I've got my older sister Eleanor and my younger brother Oscar. Mum had 3 under 3, so we were all very close in age. Yeah. Which was fun, but they definitely gave me a bit of a hard time. I love my siblings, but, I definitely had a middle child syndrome a little bit. But yeah, I was a bit shy. I was quite self-conscious. I loved painting and drawing more than anything. So I loved to sort of hibernate and be alone in my room just with all my arts and crafts. Yeah. I didn't like sport. I was definitely not a sporty kid. And yeah, I just remember being quite shy and awkward, feeling very awkward in a lot of situations.
I mean, and this is just where you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, because looking at you, you wouldn't think that you would feel that way or feel like a bit of a misfit. But there was obviously a lot going on.
There was. And I think, it's something that I talk a lot about in my book is sort of how I got to be where I'm at now and how different it is. I think there have been so many different things that I've done in my career that have really put me out of my box and pushed my confidence. And I feel very different to what I did as a kid now. I definitely still feel that inner child at times, and that social anxiety creeps on in. But no, most of the time I feel much stronger and much more sure of myself than I was as a kid, for sure.
Yeah. So you've been really open about your history with disordered eating and anxiety. And I actually read that when you were crowned Miss Universe Australia, you were 6 months into your recovery and treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Can you sort of paint the picture of, did you sort of enter for Miss Universe Australia and then start treatment, or was it like before that? Like, did you ever think about not doing it?
Oh yeah, I was actually asked to do it, and at first it was like little alarm bells. I got an email and
from Miss Universe Australia.
From Miss Universe Australia, yeah.
Oh, wow.
At first I kind of thought it was spam or a scam. So I was like, surely not, this can't be real.
Yeah.
But I also had like little, red flags, alarm bells going off. I was like, this is not a great idea for me. Like, I'm only just, coming out the other side of my eating disorder. I like very early days in recovery, you're not that strong and it's pretty easy to relapse. But yeah, they asked me and I said no initially, because I was like, no, this isn't a good idea to be putting myself out there like that, to be judged and, to compare myself to others and all of that stuff. But they were quite persistent. They followed up, and I spoke to my mum about it and I was like, I don't know, what do you think? Like, this could be bad or it could be good. Yeah. And she just sort of said, set your boundaries and tell them that, if they tell you to lose weight or anything like that, that you won't be pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
Go in as yourself and just see how it goes. And the worst that can happen is you don't get through to the next round, and then that's fine. But
yeah,
if it pays off, like if something was to happen, it could be an awesome opportunity. So that's kind of how I saw it. I tried to not put too much pressure on myself, and I did set those boundaries and said, I have had an experience with an eating disorder, and I sort of put that out on the table very early on. And I feel like in a way it held me accountable, because I'd put it out there finally. It had taken me, 6 years of struggling with eating disorders to actually own it and to be able to say it. And I said, I won't be told to lose weight, because that was how I sort of ended up with an eating disorder. It was a real catalyst, I suppose, when my modelling agency had told me to lose weight. So yeah, I said, if there's any sort of pressure on my size and how I look, then I'm not going to do it, which sounds a bit ironic, I know, because Miss Universe is a lot to do with how you look, but it's also so much more than that. And I saw it as being a real opportunity and platform for me to speak about my eating disorder and to speak about mental health and the things that I'm passionate about. And because I went in with sort of low expectations, I think it ended up being, such an amazing experience. And I met so many wonderful girls from all over Australia, and ended up winning, which was a real surprise.
It paid off.
Yeah, it did. It did pay off. And it's been amazing. Like, now this book that I've just written, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that, I don't think, if Miss Universe hadn't happened, because it really did give me this platform that I didn't have before. I was pretty comfortable in my life as a speech pathologist, and that's sort of how I saw myself spending the next 30, 40, 50 years. I don't know. My life took a real turn, and it's hard to know where I'd be if I hadn't done it. Like, I don't know what would have happened, but I feel like I can pretty confidently say that I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if Miss Universe hadn't happened.
The evolution of pageants. I mean, I've had Maria and Tegan Martin on the podcast.
Oh, I love those girls.
I know. And they're so multifaceted, so complex, intelligent. And I feel like in years gone by, perhaps the contestants or the winners maybe weren't encouraged to be open about mental health or be open about, what Maria talks about with her experience from racism and things like that. Were you encouraged from Miss Universe to sort of open up and actually stand for something, as opposed to just being sort of a one-dimensional model?
Yeah, so part of the actual course of Miss Universe, or program as they call it, is, you have professional development workshops and walking workshops and a whole bunch of different things along the way. And one of the workshops that we did was very much about pitching yourself professionally, having an elevator pitch. I don't know if you've ever worked on that, where you can sort of sum yourself up in 30 seconds and tell someone what you're all about. So you can win them over, I suppose. And it was these sort of life skills that were amazing and something that I didn't really expect to be part of the course. Like, I think when people think of pageants and they think of Miss Universe, they probably think of what you see in America, that very, very like plastic and false world where it's like you got to do and say as they want you to, and speak about world peace and be quiet and be lovely and sweet, and that's kind of it, just like that etiquette and
like Miss Congeniality,
like those kind of vibes. But it's so not like that. Like, the girls that do well are the ones that speak up and have a message and share their personality, and they're not afraid to be themselves. And I think that was so cool. It was surprising to me, and that was why I enjoyed it so much, because they didn't try to squash any of the girls. Like, everyone was so different, and they really encouraged that, and they told you've got to really speak up about the things that are important to you, because that's what gets you over the line these days with Miss Universe. It's having a message and being a voice for younger girls, and being a role model, and also being able to have a strong opinion on something and be able to communicate that. I think that's definitely a skill that they look for in Miss Universe, because you're suddenly put into the spotlight and you've got to be able to get your point across and have some challenging conversations with people, and it's cool. It's very empowering.
So obviously it did change your life professionally and personally. And you mentioned before that you were a speech pathologist prior to Miss Universe. At what point did you think, I'm not going back to speech pathology, I'm going to pursue, a multitude of things, really? You're an ambassador, you're an artist. Like, when did you decide, right, I'm going to go full force into this?
Only recently. So I did the year of Miss Universe was middle of 2017 to the middle of 2018. So all of that was pretty chaotic, and you've got to be available for anything and everything, especially back then prior to COVID. There was lots of travel. I was all over Australia all the time, and then went to the US for the international comp. So it was, life was very different. So having a normal job, normal in quotation marks, job would have been hard at the time. So I didn't do that. And then the year after Miss Universe, you're sort of riding the wave of what happens in the first year. And I found that all of the opportunities were coming in more the second year, because you're not tied to any sponsors or anything like that. It's kind of like a free for all, and you can do whatever you please.
You're your own entity.
And that was really exciting. So that year was great. So that took me from like middle of 2018 to the middle of 2019. And then I thought, okay, I feel like I have kind of established myself enough in this space where I've got enough work coming in, and that was really exciting and fulfilling. But I really missed speech pathology. I missed using that part of my brain. I missed the interaction with people and children and helping people in that way. So I was like, maybe I can do both. So I applied for a job as a speech pathologist at a private practice, and it all worked out very quickly. I got the job almost straight away. So I felt like, oh, this is all meant to be. It's great.
Yeah.
And it was an awesome job. I worked mainly with children with special needs, and it was really challenging because I hadn't practiced for a couple of years too. I very much felt like a new grad.
Yeah.
And I felt imposter syndrome all the time. And it was hard. But then there was only 6 months before, COVID hit. Yeah. So I felt like my speech job really got me through COVID last year, because I was able to still go to the clinic and work with these people and have this regular job. Whereas, all the other stuff that I do is so random and there's not much stability. Like, I don't know, when the next thing could come along. It's hard to predict. Whereas I felt like my speech work was stable. But I started writing my book. And at the beginning of this year, it was getting really hard to balance everything, because here in Melbourne, we were coming out of lockdown. Like, seems very strange now, but January and November, December, Jan were all quite normal and busy. So events were picking up. There was so much going on. And I just felt like I had too many balls in the air and I couldn't keep up with it all. And I'm definitely a bit of a perfectionist, but I felt like I wasn't doing a good job at anything. Like I felt like I was just doing an okay job at everything, and I couldn't catch my tail. Like I was, chasing my tail constantly, and I just couldn't get there. Like I couldn't keep up with everything. And it was really stressful and I wasn't enjoying it. So,
and as someone who suffers from anxiety myself, I know that is like the worst feeling.
It's terrible. Yeah.
You feel like you're just like treading water constantly, trying to like come up for air. It's awful.
It is. And I'm also a people pleaser, and I felt like I was letting people down. Probably it was more of it was in my mind than was actually real, because it's not like people were saying to me, you're doing a shit job. But I felt like I was. It was something I was working on with my psych. She's like, where's the evidence that you're doing a bad job? And I was like, I don't know, I just feel it. Like I just felt like I was. And I think that, my speech clients deserve better than that. They deserve someone who can give them 110%. And I couldn't do that at the time. So I had to make the decision to, something had to give. And I figure what I'm doing with my book, that was temporary, working on that. And then this work that I'm doing as a mental health advocate, as an ambassador for different brands, who knows when that will stop, or if it will stop. And it could be short-lived. So I thought speech pathology is something that I can always go back to, even if I have to, go back and study a bit more to sort of refresh my skills and knowledge. But what I'm doing in the other space might not last forever. So I feel like I might as well make the most of it while it's there. And so I put speech on hold for a while, and I don't know if that will be temporary or how long that will be. But it was a hard decision. But also, as soon as I said it out loud, I was like, okay, this feels right. It felt like the right choice to make. Yeah.
And you're going with what gives you joy now. So that's amazing.
Exactly. In saying that, though, I do miss speech. Like I miss the kids, and I miss the fulfillment that job gave me. But I'm hoping that, with this book, once the book's out, that I'll still get some of that from helping people through the book, hopefully.
And I'm sure you help so many people on your socials. Like I was just scrolling through your socials before,
thank you.
and the way you open up about the disordered eating and anxiety and depression and all that sort of stuff, like it just makes people feel seen and that they're not completely alone.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's my intention with what I share and with the book as well, is I feel like when I was going through some of my darkest moments that I couldn't really see anyone in the public eye that was talking about it openly, and that it made me feel very alone and embarrassed, I suppose. I think there's a lot of shame around disordered eating and mental health illnesses in general. But when you see someone who is, seemingly has a good life and has their shit together, but also has struggled with those sorts of things, it's a relief. And it's like, oh, okay, like it's not just me, and that you're not alone. And so even if I can make one person feel that way, then I feel like I'm doing okay.
Yeah. So tell me about the book. It's called Find Your Light. People dream about becoming authors.
Yeah. I feel very, very lucky.
The process of even writing a book.
It's very hard. I've always loved books. I've always loved reading. I've always admired authors, but my respect for them has gone through the roof since doing this, because it's so hard. It is really confronting. I thought it would be more cathartic than it was. I think at first it was sort of writing everything out and getting it out there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when you write about some of your most difficult, times in your life, you've then got to revisit it so many times, because the editing and re-editing is just this ongoing process. It takes so long. And I thought that after reading it a certain amount of times that you'd sort of feel a bit numb to it, but my psych said it's kind of like you've taken off a scab and then you're scratching it every time you read over it. Like you're
sounds like fun.
You're like re-injuring yourself. So things that happen, like I speak about my cousin who passed away when I was 17. He was 18, and I'm almost 30 now. But when I was writing that and editing that part, I felt like it happened last year. Like it felt so raw and fresh. So it was really hard. Like, it was really emotionally draining and challenging, but I know that it's for a good reason. And now that it's done, and I can't touch any of the words again, because being a perfectionist too, like actually submitting it to go to print was terrifying. Like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I had so much anxiety. But now that, yeah, it's done, there's nothing more I can do.
Yeah.
I feel much more excited about it. And I just want people to have it in their hands and to be able to read it now. So I've been seeing a few people getting it and putting it on their stories. But as of, it's a couple more weeks till it'll be in bookstores, and I'm so excited for that. It'll be weird. It'll be weird, people reading so much about me, but also, very exciting.
If you were to like say the main thing that you want someone to take or learn from the book, what would it be?
That's a really good question. I haven't been asked that yet. One thing's hard, because I hope that people take a lot from it. But I suppose the fact that no job or person or opportunity is worth risking your mental well-being or your physical well-being. That would definitely be a big takeaway. I think so often we try to mold ourselves to fit into a certain a certain shape and be a certain way for other people, when we should really just be focusing on ourselves and what we want to do. And I think it took me a really long time to figure that out, and it took going through my eating disorder and trying to make it in the modeling world to figure that out. So hopefully that, I think very much, being yourself and being true to yourself, that's definitely something that I've learned, and I hope that people can take away from the book.
Yeah. Do you sometimes still have doubts? I mean, you're so successful and you've got so much going on, but at the end of the day, you're still working in an industry that, relies on your physicality, and obviously what you bring to the table with your advocacy and everything. But the physicality is a big part of it with the modeling. Do you still experience moments of anxiety and self-doubt?
I definitely still have anxiety, but it's very different now. It's back when I was modeling and when I was really unwell with my eating disorder, the anxiety around comparison was so intense. And I spent so long on other people, other models' profiles, comparing myself to them and feeling like I wasn't enough and I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I think for me, Miss Universe was something that really pushed me to feel comfortable in my own skin, because it was like, okay, well, these people have backed me to win this thing, when in that moment there were so many stunning girls that I was up against, and stunning inside and out.
Yeah.
And I think there was something like 12 judges over the whole thing, so we had multiple judging processes. But the fact that all these people chose me and believed in me to be this spokesperson, I was like, okay, well, there's all these people that are backing me, like they must be backing me for a reason. And I don't want to say that like you've got to rely on external validation to make you feel like you're good enough, or that you can back yourself. But I think when I do have those moments of doubt, or when I did as Miss Universe, I was like, okay, well, there's something here, like there's a reason that I'm here. And now with Instagram and putting myself out there and whatnot, I know that I can't please everyone. I know that not everybody is going to like me. Not everybody's going to agree with the things that I talk about and the things that I say. And I do get that a lot of people are like, well, they don't really necessarily listen to me or take me seriously because I look a certain way. Like I literally had a woman tell me that if her son had me as a speech pathologist, she would laugh and leave because I look too stupid to know my ABCs. She literally is what she said. And I was like, well, she's purely judging me based on how I look. And it's just so ridiculous. Like, is she teaching her children that if someone looks a certain way, then they can't be anything other than that? I was just going to say, I
hope her son doesn't pick up on that.
It's so backwards.
Mentality.
It's awful. But I feel like I have a really great opportunity to challenge those perspectives and push back against that, because people do often make their mind up about someone just based on how they look. And I feel like that's just so unfair, because you don't know the backstory, you don't know the half of it. But yeah, I do get what you're saying. And I do have people asking me about that too. Even someone said to me the other day, like, how do you, and they weren't being rude, they were just genuinely asking, like, how do you think people can really, I guess, take you seriously when you talk about your eating disorder and that experience when you did do Miss Universe and you did something that is based a lot on appearance. But I feel like, for one, am I supposed to just not do anything with that because I look a certain way? Like I find that
and two things can be true at the same time. You
Yeah.
can be anxious and have your insecurities, but you can still push yourself and
exactly. But I think also, mental health and eating disorders don't discriminate, and I think that's one of the really important things that I hope people take away too, is that you can see someone and think that they have everything sorted and they've got their life all together, or all these beautiful girls who you see on Instagram, you think that they'd be so confident because they look so amazing, but often they're the most insecure people. Like, you just don't know what's going on behind social media and behind closed doors, and I feel like that's a message that I really would like to get out there. But again, I know that not everyone's going to want to listen to me, and that's okay. I don't, like, I'm not here to please everyone. I'm hoping that I can get through to a select few at least.
That whole notion of not being taken seriously if you're an attractive female, I can't remember who I was having this conversation with, but it was, when women are smart and beautiful, their brains and beauty, when do we ever say that men are handsome and clever? Like, we never draw
it. No, that's so true. Like, it's never really a point of conversation. Like, if a man's successful, you don't talk about how he looks.
Or if a guy is hot and successful, no one questions if he should be taken seriously.
That's because so true.
It's crazy. Like, there's been a lot of progress with feminism, but I think that that's something that we really have to challenge going forward. It's crazy.
For sure.
You've done so much. You've worked on some incredible campaigns. I know this might be a hard question to ask, but what have been some of the highlights so far?
Oh, there have been a lot. And I feel like there's still so many good ones to come. But a recent one that I absolutely loved was working with Review, the beautiful brand Review and Bromley. So they did a collaboration with David Bromley, and he, for those who don't know, is an iconic Australian artist. He's actually from Adelaide, as I am as well. So
that's nice.
When they reached out and they said that they were doing a collaboration with him, I was like, yep, I need to be involved in this in some way, because it's just so cool to have these two iconic brands coming together to create something amazing. And I think too, I do love art. I love painting myself. So being involved and seeing something come to life from a painting and to be made into clothes was just really, really cool. So that was definitely a recent highlight. And then obviously this book and everything that's happening with my book is very exciting as well. But God, that's a hard question. There's been a lot of highlights and a lot of things that I look back on and I'm like, wow, like, I can't believe that I was lucky enough to do that. I think this is not the life that I expected to have, so I'm just so grateful for every opportunity and every chance that I get. Very lucky.
So what does 2022 hold for you? Obviously, are you going to do a book tour? Can we do that yet? Are we there?
Well, I don't know how that looks just yet. There's definitely some publicity happening at the moment. I've got a little book launch coming up on the date that the book will hit bookstores. And there hasn't been much discussion around a book tour. I think a lot of things are still virtual because we can't go to every state yet, but I'll be getting married next year, which is very exciting. We were meant to get married in October 2020 and then again in Feb this year, so now it's Feb 2022, third time lucky. So I'm very excited about that. And who knows, honestly, like, it's hard to say what each year will bring because I mean, as you said, the work is it's really random and I just sort of take the opportunities as they come. But I definitely do have some other things in the works, like with my art, and I'm excited for more of that to come to life over the next 6 months, hopefully. So yeah.
And finally, at It's All Her, we're all about making life simpler and better for women. How do you make your life simpler and better?
Oh, that's a good one. Something that I've been doing recently is I got the Tasks app on my phone. Do you have that?
No, but it sounds like something I need.
It's so good. So I love a to-do list.
Yes.
And I love ticking things off, but sometimes I find it overwhelming if my to-do list is just like too big.
Yep.
So this app, it's free, and you can sort of put your tasks into categories and then put your lists in there. And then as you tick them off, they disappear. So it's just the most satisfying thing. I feel like it keeps me really organized, especially because my life, you know, everything's a bit all over the place. So I have like things I need to do with my art, things I need to do, say for the book, for example, house things, all of that. So you categorize it and then tick them off as you go. That is like a game changer, a recent game changer for me.
Getting that, I'm like, as soon as we get off this, I'm downloading. I can't believe I haven't heard of that before.
I know. I know. Well, I was the same when I found it. I was like, why has no one ever told me about this? So you're welcome. And I hope that it helps the listeners.
You might have just changed my life.
It's a good one. It is a good one.
Wow. Olivia, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week. I've loved chatting to you. I can't wait to read the book and to see your wedding photos and see what you get up to.
Thanks you so much, Geordie. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of It's All Her. If you have loved this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Share us with a friend. Of course, if this episode has raised concerns for you, please get in touch with an organisation that can help you, such as Beyond Blue or the Butterfly Foundation. I'll be back in your ears very soon.